Yes, it's true. I've joined a walking group. Me, the ponytail pensioner, and I'm loving it. 12 stages, one beautiful river, and a merry band led by Ruth, who rather wonderfully wrote the guidebook. I missed the first 2 walks, don't ask, but join me and my new friends strolling the Wye from source to sea, all 140 miles of it. Well, we've done 84 or thereabouts miles of the Wye Valley Way, and by the end of today, at our walk from Hereford, the beautiful cathedral city, down to the lovely village, the oak apple village of Fownhope, would have done the best part of 90, if not just over 90 miles. Ruth mustered us Wye Valley walkers just downstream from the 15th century bridge in Hereford. We're on the right bank, the south one, and our thoughts immediately turned to Elgar. Sir Edward lived here in Hereford. His music is the sound of Edwardian England, rather like the city, grand and noble, but with an underlying hint of sadness. His famous Enigma variations are one such piece, and we started our walk off celebrating just one of those. A boisterous tribute in music to Dan, the bulldog belonging to a friend. We crossed the river and left the Victorian and Edwardian suburbs behind. As we reached a road so uninspiring it made you wonder if walking was ever really a good idea. Keith did his best and pointed out various places of interest, including a home for wayward boys. We all wondered how come he knew so much about it. Soon enough we left the tarmac behind and headed out across the meadows. They'd been recently mowed, and the rock-hard soil, the reddish-brown soil, was covered in a thin layer of straw-coloured and very parched stubble. After walking across the fields, it was up onto the Stank. The Stank may not sound promising, and it comes from an Old English word for pool or ditch, but these raised banks were built to keep the Wye in its place. And it has to be said, with mixed success, because the River Wye in these parts regularly likes to turn itself into a lake, hence the flood defences of the Stank. I couldn't help but notice that my fellow Wye Valley Walk were rather intrigued by what was growing on the trees. Herefordshire scrumping.
First walnut of the season.
Walnuts, blimey! Well, my fellow Wye Valley walkers are scrumping not on apples as I thought, but bloody walnuts. The killer nut. Better steer clear. We took our coffee on the bank at Hampton Bishop and watched the clouds scud across a darkening sky. But it remained dry, for the time being, and our spirits were high. Quite challenging stretch of the A road. Just in the far distance there, there's a rather charmingly named pub, the Bunch of Carrots. But we're going on the Wye Valley Way. Thank you. We rejoined the Stank and followed its sinuous and winding course out of Hampton Bishop and on towards Mordiford. Away to our left was the rather lovely River Lugg, equally as determined as the Wye to flood these meadows whenever it could. We continued walking along the Stank. I nipped down onto the meadows and espied a curious hill in the distance called Bagpiper's Tump. And the story goes in olden times a bagpiper played here, possibly to rally troops or maybe just to annoy the neighbours. Nobody really knows. But it's a reminder that every hill in Britain seems to have a story if you hang around long enough. Mordiford we reached, the confluence point of the Lugg and the Wye, and things perked up here even more. Yes, it's a pretty village, with a rather lovely church, but what it also has is a big legend, the Mordiford Dragon. Apparently in the Middle Ages, a green and scaly monster used to lurk where the Lugg meets the Wye. The dragon was befriended by a local lass Maud, but nevertheless it had the rather unappealing habit of noshing on the local villagers and their livestock. Something had to be done, and a condemned convict was given a promise of freedom if he slayed the beast. This duly happened, and the villagers were saved. It turns out that one of our number, a Wye Valley walker, Keith, went to school in Mordiford. He recalls an amazing ceremony organised by a very good head teacher who got the whole school to build a papier-mâché dragon. This was commemorated a summer long ago, and ATV, the local television company, came and filmed it, and if you want to see that, it's in the link below, as is a spin-off video where Keith tells us more about the Mordiford dragon. But best of all, if you come here, you can follow the modern dragon trail around the village. Wonderful.
Yeah, you just go around again.
I walked out of Mordiford in very high spirits indeed, thinking that we need to do more of this around the country. So, well done, Mordiford. We wandered gently uphill deep into orchard country. These orchards in springtime are full of apple blossom, and it's almost absurdly picturesque. But in autumn, the time that we walk through, the apples are ripe and ready for cider making. We spent a good while here in Jay's orchard, and we had the very next best thing to cider, Ruth's rather wonderful apple cake. Everyone tucked in. Fortified by the scrumptious apple cake, on we went, but down came the drizzle. Never mind, we rapidly put our waterproofs on and continued on, stopping briefly to consider the ancient rocks of the Fownhope dome which lay away to our left, to the north, and the rather mysterious and slightly threatening woods, Haugh Woods, which made me come over on a previous walk, or Blair Witch Project. These woods are also home to one of Britain's rarest beetles, the noble chafer beetle, a gloriously shiny green thing that spends most of its life as a grub inside the dead fruit trees, only emerging briefly to look fabulous and then die. Is there a life lesson in this somewhere? At last we reach Fownhope, the village that reveres the oak apple, the strange growth caused by gall wasp and once used to make ink. And you can still see traces of the old May Day Oak Apple Festival in this village, where everyone gets drunk on cider and dances around shouting huzzah, which frankly sounds to me like a tradition well worth keeping. Alas, at this point my camera gave way until we reached our final spot, the cricket ground where Fownhope Cricket Club were having their play stopped by the rather unwelcome late summer rain. So that was 10 or 11 easy miles done, from Elgar and flood banks to dragons, orchards, bewitched woods and even oak apples. Proof once again that the River Wye never quite runs out of surprises. Next time we head further east and then turn south down towards the very comely river town of Ross-on-Wye. We hope that you too might enjoy this walk. Put those walking boots on and check out the links below where you can see the route we took and suggestions for parking. And finally, don't forget to follow me. I'm Steve, the ponytail pensioner, walking with the wonderful Wye Valley Way walkers, celebrating together 50 years of this long distance footpath. And we are getting close now to the final part of our Wye Valley Walk, from Source-to-Sea. 90 guidebook miles tramped, another 50 or so to walk, and ahead of us lies the Lower Wye and its glorious gorge. See you next time.